Welcome to i24 News Sports Daily Magazine with all the latest scores and stories from around the world. Tuesday evening, plenty of action coming your way, and these are the headlines. 2 Champions League quarterfinals will be decided tonight. Chelsea will need to score at least twice to go past Paris Saint-Germain. Real Madrid looking comfortable after beating Dortmund 3-0 in the first leg. We go back to the weekend's action to choose our top 5 goals with some beautiful displays, a bicycle kick from Mexico, and Alessandro Del Piero still performing his magic are both in. He's a 5-time gold medalist, one of the greatest swimmers of all times, but now Ian Thorpe is fighting a different battle as he runs a serious risk of losing an arm. And it was hard, there were troubles on the way, but the newly renovated Rio Beira Stadium in Porto Alegre has officially opened with a beautiful display. Hello again and thank you for joining us. We are live from the Jaffa Port. Champions League is our top story with the second leg of the quarterfinals kicking off with 2 matches, one in Dortmund and one in London, where the local team will need every possible support to go through. Paris Saint-Germain will face Chelsea in Stamford Bridge. The French champions holding a very valuable 3-1 lead from the first leg at home. PSG will be without their biggest star, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who has not recuperated yet from the hamstring injury he sustained in the first match, but Laurent Blanc and his team look very confident in their ability to do it. On the other side, Frank Lampard and John Terry were there when Chelsea came back from the exact result 2 years ago against Napoli, leading them all the way to the title. A very difficult task to repeat, and manager Jose Mourinho does not think the absence of Ibrahimovic gives his team any special edge.
Eto'o didn't play the first game, and I'm not sure he plays the second game. Ramirez is suspended. Matic and Salah, they can play in the Champions League. And we are not crying, you know. So the fact that a multimillionaire club that buys players and players doesn't play one important player like Ibrahimovic, I don't think is a problem.
The Chelsea manager calling another club a multi-millionaire club. The other tie set for tonight looks almost decided. Borussia Dortmund will have a very difficult time to overcome the 3-0 loss in the first game against Real Madrid. The only hope Dortmund may have comes from Robert Lewandowski. The Polish striker scored 4 times against the Merengues last season, enough to take his team past Real Madrid back then. Only a repeat of that heroic performance will put Dortmund through this time. It could be a nice farewell present from Lewandowski ahead of his move to Bayern Munich in the summer. On the Spanish side, it is unclear yet if or how much Cristiano Ronaldo will play, as he did not complete the final training session, but Gareth Bale, Pepe and their teammates already proved they can do without him. Manager Carlo Ancelotti was not in charge last year when Lewandowski stunned the Madrid Giants, but he knows very well he is the man to watch out from.
I believe that it changes when you compare it to the first leg. It's clear that it changes because he is a forward player of a very high standard. He is a very important reference for the team, so the presence Lewandowski makes Borussia Dortmund strong.
Now we go back to the weekend's action to choose our top 5 goals of the weekend. You do not want to miss this. Number 5 comes from Greece, and there's a reason why Panathinaikos is not really putting up a fight against Olympiacos. How can you do it with this kind of mistakes by the goalkeeper? The Athens club was leading against Levadiakos. Battered until Emmanuel Kone said thank you for the present and sent a beautiful chip to the net. Goal number 5 for him this season. Number 4 coming from the Bundesliga. Braunschweig is in last place and fighting against relegation, but maybe there is some hope. They beat Hannover 3-0 and their second goal was a beauty. Benjamin Kessel with a long pass and Havard Nielsen fires the volley and it's good. Braunschweig is now only 2 points away from salvation. Moving to Mexico for number 3. Chiapas lost their match against Pumas, but look at this acrobatic display by Aviles Hurtado. The corner came in from the right and Hurtado with a very impressive bicycle kick. Not enough to win, but absolutely worth a place in our countdown. We usually see players from the professional leagues here, but this time it's an amateur with an amazing goal at number 2. Very few of us, if any, heard of the name of Quique Cubas. Now he is a bit more famous after this Maradona-style goal, giving his 4th division club Arosa the 2-1 victory over Cultural Areas. Only one man beat Cubas this week, this time someone you may know. He is called Alessandro Del Piero. He did it for Juventus, he did it for the Italian national team. Now he's doing it down under for Sydney Football Club. He may already be 39 years old, but he still has that magical touch, a definite number one. One of the major concerns for the organizers of the World Cup in Brazil is preventing violence in the stands, as too many times these places turn to be violent venues, resulting in death and misery. Lies Barnbaum tells us how Brazilian security forces are planning to tackle this and reminds us of some of the terrible tragedies from the past.
2 months before the beginning of the World Cup, Brazil has great concerns. In less than a year, 3 accidents cost their workers' lives at the stadium's construction sites in Brasilia, Manaus, and Sao Paulo. Deaths by crane accidents or fatal falls are problems that freeze the stadium's funding and threaten the organization of football's grandest event, causing the Brazilian government to justify itself.
There was an accident, but in any case, it was to be delivered later than December. There was a delay with the transfer of funds for the Curitiba Stadium. But what I can tell you is that these stadiums will be delivered on time for test events for the World Cup to go ahead.
Despite the urgency of the current situation, FIFA tries to keep the faith.
FIFA can now send, I would say we would send or ask God, Allah, whoever, that no more accident shall arise in the connection with the World Cup.
Caused by hooligans or security fails, disasters are not new in the history of football. The United Kingdom is unfortunately a chosen place for these terrible accidents. On April 15, 1989, the FA Cup semi-final between Liverpool and Nottingham Forest became England's worst stadium-related disaster, as 96 people were crushed to death at the Hillsborough Stadium in Sheffield. A recent study on the tragedy denounced the responsibility of the police and even set an apology from Prime Minister David Cameron, along with comments by England's football stars.
I knew that it was a lie when they said the Liverpool fans caused the disaster, and when they said that the Liverpool fans were robbing the bodies. I knew that wasn't true. What I'm happy about is that the truth has come out.
On May 29, 1985, the Hazel Stadium in Brussels was the place of another tragic stampede. Just before the European Cup final between Liverpool and Juventus, Liverpool fans breached a fence separating them from a neutral area, which contained Juventus fans. A wall collapsed as a result, and 39 people lost their lives. France had drama of its own with the Fioriani Stadium disaster in 1992. The Coupe de France semi-final between Bastia and Marseille turned into a tragic affair as one of the terraces collapsed, resulting with 18 dead and 2,300 injured. In Europe, these disasters have had legal consequences. The outdoor facilities of over 3,000 spectators are now regulated by law in France. The same goes for England, where fans are accommodated in modern ultra-secured and all-seated stadiums. In Egypt, however, football-affiliated violence reached new heights. On February 1, 2012, fans of Al Masry and Al Ahly clashed in the Port Said Stadium after Al Masry's 3-1 victory. The fans were armed with weapons and knives, battling it out in the stands, while the police forces acted overwhelmed. The riot resulted with 79 deaths and thousands of wounded.
It was only a football game. What was all this about? You'll win or lose, and you won, so why did you do that? It's only a football game. 50 people die for what?
In January 2013, the Egyptian court sentenced 21 people to the death penalty for participating in these violent acts, a decision rejected by protesters who denounced the actions of the police.
It's not the first time Al Masry has faced Al Ahly. It's not the first time we've had these kind of slogans being shouted. That's not what caused the deaths of 77 people. It's clearly a conspiracy. Security was weak and the police did nothing.
Brazil still has a few weeks for securing its stadiums and ensuring peace and quiet for football fans. Let's hope the country makes a proper job so we won't have to see these kind of pictures again.
When we report about the Brazilian stadiums, it is usually on a negative note. How nice it is to have something beautiful this time. Fireworks, a music concert, and nearly 50,000 colorful and exciting fans were all part of the inauguration of the renovated Beira Rio Stadium in Porto Alegre. Like many other World Cup stadiums, construction at the Beira Rio was delayed and had to deal with financial trouble But all this is gone now. The stadium that will host 5 matches in the tournament is now ready, and the first game in the renovated stadium was a replay of the first match played here back in 1969. Local team Internacional hosting Peñarol from Paraguay. Just for the record, Internacional won this game 2-1. Now to basketball, and this is usually the place where we move to the NBA, but the pros had the night off. It was time for the NCAA Finals. Nearly 80,000 fans were in attendance at the AT&T Center, usually home of the Dallas Cowboys, for the final of between two of the greatest teams in college basketball, Connecticut and Kentucky. Yes, you are seeing 2 former presidents in the stands. That is how big the NCAA is. On the court, it was an intense affair. UConn led from the tip-off, but Kentucky always kept them in sight. The Huskies were up only by 4 at the break. Same story in the second half. Connecticut opening a small gap. Kentucky with a power play staying close, but not close enough. Ryan Boatwright gave UConn a 6-point margin with just 4 minutes to go, but the Wildcats were not giving up just yet. Alex Poitras again makes it a 4-point game, but that was as close as they could get. Connecticut wins the game 60-54 to clinch the title for the 4th time in their history. This is a college that many great NBA players came from. Ray Allen, Rip Hamilton, and Amaka Okafor, among others. Don't be surprised if we see a few more names from the class of 2014. Basketball, as we have seen, can bring so much joy and excitement. Unfortunately, there are some ugly sides as well. These are the very disturbing images from the Tel Aviv derby last night. Following the game, Maccabi Tel Aviv player Sofoklis Shchorzianitis jumped to the stands, trying to catch a Hapoel Tel Aviv fan who cursed him on the way to the locker room. Unfortunately, there were no serious injuries. This is not the first time Shchorzianitis is involved in violent incidents. Just 2 weeks ago, he threatened a referee, and there are 2 other violent incidents with other players in his past record in Israel and in Greece. His team only provided a very weak condemnation so far, saying that the player was provoked by the fans and that the video proves he did not hurt anybody. We think the images speak for themselves, and that images like these and players that act like this have no place in our basketball courts, regardless of the terrible chants by the crowd. Now from a place where brawls are still, fortunately, a rare occurrence to a place where it's almost an everyday affair. It was meant to be a charity ice hockey match between New York City police and firefighters in Long Island, but the people who are in charge of keeping law and order were far from it. Players from both teams cleared the bench and threw punches, while referees are seen trying to break up the fight, which broke out in the second period of the match. If this is what we see from police and firefighters, we should not really be surprised we see so much of that in the NHL. Now to swimming and some sad news coming from Australia. Ian Thorpe, one of the greatest all-time swimmers, is in danger of losing his left arm following a serious infection. The 31-year-old 5-time Olympic gold medalist contracted the infection after surgery at a hospital in Switzerland. Thorpe is now being treated in a Sydney hospital with large doses of antibiotics, and of course, we wish him all the best. Now to motorsports as we head to the NASCAR race in Texas. It's known as the Duck Commander 500 race. Rain delays played a major role as the race was halted again and again. When it finally got running, Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran into trouble as he crushed into the barrier and his car caught fire. He walked out safely, but it meant he finished last, something that has not happened since 2007. At the end, everything was set for a final showdown between Joey Logano and Jeff Gordon. Logano, in yellow, made the last lap pass, crossing the checkered flag first. This is the 4th victory in his career. Now to France, to one of the oldest cycling events, and no, we're not talking about the Tour de France. The Paris-Roubaix race is a one-day professional bicycle road race in northern France, starting north of Paris and finishing on the Belgian frontier, known for its many cobbled sectors. The 112th edition of the race will be run next week from Compiègne to Roubaix, covering a total distance of 257 kilometers with 28 cobblestone sectors. Representatives from the Tour de France owner ASO previewed the route and rated the sectors, reckoning the pave that the race covers to finalize the organizer's rating of the pave. Still in France, to the coast of Concarneau. The northwestern commune, which lies in Brittany, hosted the shorthand offshore sailing race of the Transat competition. This is the 12th running edition of the event, which takes off from Concarneau and bounds for the Caribbean island of St. Bart's, some 3,890 miles away. And we'll finish today's show in Austria with the last leg of the FMB World Tour in Vienna. The Tour is the first and only World Cup circuit of freeride mountain biking, and these riders did not disappoint the fans at the 2014 Vienna Air King. Sudden weather forecast added even more suspense to the event, as the rain managed to hold off just long enough for all 8 riders in the finals to complete their second runs. Defending champions Canada Brett Reeder crashed in practice before the event, but he was strong enough to win again. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget you can watch us anytime on our website at i24news.tv. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. See you again tomorrow. Have a beautiful day.